Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of Season 2 of The Pulp, which is all about operational discipline, or doing the small things right consistently. When it comes to converting, our margins don't live within one big decision that's made. It's part of a lot of small things that add up together. Accuracy, clean changeovers, showing up consistently and on time, catching issues early. It's early in the year, and February is a great time to stop and do a checkpoint. It's early enough in the year to reset habits, refocus on fundamentals, and make sure that we're setting ourselves up for a successful rest of 2026. Today, we've got two special guests in-house, John McQuillan, our Paper Valley Quality Manager, and Marcus Biagini, our Appleton Operations Manager. My goodness, too many words. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
And we've also got two remote guests, Jason Scott and Dave Gambito, who are going to be sharing their input on some of the subjects that we discuss.
And Jim Albert.
Oh my goodness, almost forgot all about Jim. Yep, so last but not least, Jim Albert's also contributing some input from emails that we had sent out before the show.
Yes.
All right, so with that, let's get right into segment one, which has to do with why operational discipline matters. So John, Marcus, in converting, we talked a little bit about how precision and repeatability are so key to us being successful. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I can start. Obviously I got asked that question before, and which kind of really got me actually thinking, right? And really what you're describing, Bob, really goes a little bit deeper than operational discipline, right? We're talking about operational discipline. Really, it's just a byproduct of self-discipline. That's what it comes down to. Why the self-discipline matters? It's because it's the foundation that everything sits on it, right? Systems, goals, leadership will not work without the individual choosing to do the right thing over and over and just leading by example, right? Kind of walking the actual talk. It's just really it's about doing the right thing even when it feels uncomfortable, right? It's going to somebody and say, hey, Marcus, that's not safe.
Right.
I don't want to see you getting hurt. Don't do it, right?
And being comfortable, having those conversations, right? Being comfortable speaking up.
Yeah.
I think the flip side of that is not to be defensive either.
Correct.
Right. I mean,
how you respond.
Yeah. When somebody comes to me and tells me that I can do something safer, even though my first reaction might be to be defensive, if I really just take a second and think about it, that individual's just looking out for me, my safety, and in doing those things, looking out for Procon as a whole.
Right.
Yeah, and we just got done with our monthly visual factor meetings here that we talk about safety and quality, and I kind of use myself as a example to the actual plants. I said, I hopped on a boom lift, and I had an employee that walked up to me and says, hey, should you be wearing the safety harness, right? And I could have had a million excuses. Hey, I've got to move it 5 feet. I got to do it, right? But no, You're right. Thank you. I appreciate, right? So It's just, the response and just understanding that people are caring for you, that is a key part. And just kind of with that, another thing that, kind of got me thinking that, really, self-discipline starts right away in the morning, right? It's getting up on time, making your bed.
That was the first thing I thought of.
Right?
Yep.
Making to work on actually time. And some of you guys might be asking me, why does making your bed really matters that much? Because it is self-discipline, right? It's just the right thing to do. You want to come back home to a clean, organized house, right? So it starts with the small tasks and kind of leads into the big tasks, right?
Yep.
So
Your life outside of work connects directly to your life inside of work.
100%. And, just transitioning into the quality side of things a little bit, I think a lot of perception is out there that quality claims come to us because some huge, glaring, should have been seen mistake occurred, which is sometimes the case, right? But I think it's lost sometimes that the small things can add up really quickly as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, do you have any examples of times where just something as simple as scrap or...
Yeah, we have plenty of claims that go without a monetary punishment, right? But those things are how you lose credibility with your customers. And before you know it, you're losing customers. If you're losing customers, you're going to lose business, right?
Right. Yep. And and that's a good way for, I think, all of us to look at our business as consumers, right? Is that the same way that if we order a product from a particular vendor and it comes to our residence all banged up or looks like it's been
Absolutely.
opened up and torn through or whatever the case may be, we're less likely to go back to them.
Right.
And so we should act as though we're at that vendor and
Yeah.
we're shipping that product to ourselves
Yeah.
when we think about what's going to be received on the other end.
To that point, Bob, our packaging, whatever our packaging may be, whether it's rolls or skids or cartons, that is the first impression that our customer gets of Procon. So whatever that package looks like, that's what they're thinking of us. So we've got to make that packaging look as pristine as it can be.
Not to belabor the point, but if that doesn't make it there, okay, it's not only a bad reflection on us, truly it's a bad reflection on our customer and hurts us even more. Because we operate with their packaging
Correct.
and their systems and all those good things.
No, go ahead.
Please go ahead. No, please go
No,
ahead.
as I said, I want to kind of add to actually that, right? Because I just actually used recently this example. It said it really starts with the packaging. Doesn't matter how great of a job we did converting that paper or rewinding that roll. When you go to the grocery store, you're looking at buying something, right? You can be buying cereal, and if the box has a misprint, typically you're not going to grab that box. The box is great, the product inside is great, but you put it on the back and you grab the other box, right? So it really starts there.
That's I mean, Dave Gambita, when we asked him some questions about operational discipline and how it affects quality and stuff, he said in the bottom here, let's see. Let's imagine that a cook or a chef has no discipline in how they prepare your meal at a restaurant. How would you expect that meal to be when it's placed in front of you and you take the first bite? Who suffers? The customer.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it goes right in line. Dave's on the same page with us and not even here.
Absolutely. Yeah. You make me think about the fact that I am one of those people that even though I know it's completely irrational, I never buy the first box I see on the shelf of anything. I take that out of the way, the next one, put it back, and it comes right down to it. I think before we move on to the next section, I do want to point out a quote that Jason had given to us, which I think makes it very relevant, that all big things, such as claims, have small beginnings, right? We have to get the small things right, and then those big things will follow. And I think just one last talking point that Jason also gave us note of is his perception of what operational discipline means to him. And I've heard him say this before in other aspects. It means that when you're gone, the process is still going to work without you there, right? If we're all disciplined in the things that we have to do, then we know it's going to be successful, and we can have faith that that plan is going to work.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about moving into our next segment, the importance of that operational discipline when it comes to setup accuracy and changeover discipline. Let's talk about what happens when setups are rushed, or how does that create problems downstream?
Well, if you're rushing through your make-readies, and I actually had jotted down a note along the same lines, if you're not doing it right the first time, you can expect to do it twice. And we don't have time to do that. We don't have the budget to do that. Quality is an expectation from our customers. They don't pay extra for it, right? They're expecting it. Yeah. So you got to do it right the first time. Execute your make-readies.
Yeah, and then really in manufacturing, the difference between a smooth run, right, or having issues throughout the run really comes down to the machine being set up exactly the way it's supposed to, right? It's about following procedures, having standards out there. Just kind of use the sheeters as an example, right? When you do a setup, right? Is your length and your width correct? Did we verify the overlap? Did we check the sheets again? We need a quick scan. Did we verify that what we said we did it is actually accurate, right? Is your takeaway speed set up correct? Overlap percentage. So there's lots of stuff that we have to actually check, right? There's always temptation to say that's good enough, right? But again, it goes back to what I talked about in the very beginning. It's really about self-discipline, right? And just going back and saying, did I do a good job? Did I take my extra time? Did I follow procedure? So it all goes back to self-discipline.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned those procedures. Again, just bringing it back to those small things being done. We have to follow procedures, make sure that we're verifying the measurements that we're taking, that the prescribed frequency of checks are taking place. Right? The worst thing that we can do, well, among the worst things that we can do from a quality perspective is pencil whip things because we don't feel like we have the time to do them.
Right.
You know, again, not to keep jumping in with things that Jason shared, but relevant to this is, you know, it is possible for all those supervisors out there listening to reinforce the discipline of this without it being micromanagement. And you can do that simply by setting the standards. What should the area or the run or whatever we're talking about look like at a different point in time during that run or during the day? If we set those standards, and especially if we can give visuals of what that should look like, it goes an awful long way.
Yeah, Jason always talks in our meetings about having posters up at the machine showing exactly what it should look like at all times.
Right.
And then there's no confusion, no, oh, I didn't know that. It's posted, it's right there. We can all follow that same standard.
Yep.
Absolutely. So kind of seeking into our next segment, which has to do with preventative maintenance habits. We're going to get some comments that were given to us by Jim Alberts during this point in time, but let's talk about the importance of PMs. I mean, well, what does preventative maintenance do for us as an organization, for those that might not know?
Yeah, and I can start with that. You know, preventive maintenance really goes back to discipline, right? We have to apply discipline. You know, it's applying discipline to our equipment. It's making a small investment today to avoid the big failures tomorrow. You know, are we doing our machine walkthroughs? Are we greasing the actual machines, right? Following procedures? Do we have a process in place of how to check a piece of equipment? This a year we set up a new work order system with PM reminders, which is a great step to improve our PM program. There's one thing that always stuck with me. I heard that many years ago. I can't even remember where did I hear it from, but the guy basically kind of said is like, you know, you're either gonna plan for your downtime or your downtime will plan for you, right? And which side do you want to be, right? So,
you know, it's funny because like as a desk worker in manufacturing environments, you know, one of the first roles that I had was with an organization that all organizations are different. This is one that just happened to have a pretty massive maintenance department for the equipment that they had, and they would I'd hear them talk about their PM days, and I always thought of PM as it was just this. It had to be planned for months, and then you were going to shut a machine down for a week and set your schedule around it, and you'd have the entire maintenance crew working on that machine. But you know what I've also come to realize is it's the small daily habits that go into preventative maintenance as well. Like it's just as important for the operator or anybody else assigned that machine who's assigned to do so to make sure they're doing their daily or shift frequency cleaning, lubrication, visual inspections. Maintenance, I don't want to misspeak because from a not only safety but skill perspective, maintenance is maintenance. There's some things that I certainly know I shouldn't do, but that most of us shouldn't do if we're not in the maintenance department.
Right.
But maintenance in general isn't just maintenance's job.
Right.
Operators, even helpers to an extent, material handlers, there's little things that we can do can still go a long way toward PM.
Yeah, and just cleaning, right? The basics of cleaning can uncover big issues, right? So cleaning is step one. Once your machine is clean, you do your inspection. Now you're uncovering those things, like Marcus said, that are small things, but that could become very big things, and you get them taken care of.
I mean, as a operator, really, you're the first line of defense, right? You're the first one that's walking by a piece of equipment, and you might not know what's wrong with it, but you might look on the floor and be like, "Oh, there's some glitter there." Well, we know that our machines don't produce glitter, so what is it, right? So maybe it's metal, right? Yep. So, and it starts there, right? So,
absolutely.
Jim was talking about the importance of blowing out the machines and the different parts, the motors and bearings, because we have paper. There's paper dust that gets everywhere, and that can build up. That can cause things to overheat. And can lead to failures that cause us to be down for several days versus if you just took the time to blow it out once a week or whatever that schedule looks like, you can prevent that longer term downtime.
And dust is kind of funny, right? Because it is a conductor, right? So electronics hate dust, right? And we're producing dust every day.
Yep.
And chances are it's flammable too. So
Yeah.
the last thing we need is a fire.
I don't think I'm, well, I might be actually breaking some type of a copyright law here, but you know what? I don't care. It takes me back to when I worked at McDonald's in high school and the old adage, if there's time to lean, there's time to clean. We all need to take that to heart. You know, I'm not trying to point anybody out, nor am I going to say it's a pro-con exclusive problem, but you know, from time to time I need to review our security cameras for different things that go on, and far too often I see somebody leaning back on a phone, which of course we have to address as we see that, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, the 5 seconds that it takes to see if you've got missed a text message while we have downtime can just as easily be spent and more valuably be spent checking out your surrounding area and doing the right thing, which oftentimes includes cleaning up.
There you go.
When we had talked to Jim about this episode and preventive maintenance, he included a picture of one of our machines that was down one day, and there was just paper lying underneath and different things that could have been done that day while the machine was already down and not being used for production that day. So things that we can watch out for when we have that extra time available and when the machines aren't running are always good.
Well, although I will also say another important part, even though it's not really preventative maintenance, is just like with anything else we talk about, whether that's safety, quality, if you see something, say something, right? If something is broken, we can't fix it unless we know. And if something is broken, it very well may be presenting a safety hazard for you and your coworkers. So make sure that you let not just your supervisor, coworker, but maintenance know whenever you see something that needs repairing.
And put in your work order in e-maintenance.
Absolutely. So, you know, operational discipline, we're talking about how it impacts setup accuracy, changeovers, preventative maintenance, but I'm gonna take it to my own court now. And, you know, operational discipline is just as important when it comes to things such as attendance and reliability, right? Because all the things that we're talking about, not only are they more difficult if we're short-staffed, in some cases, they're simply not possible, right? And to that same point, and not to belabor a point, but attendance is so critical to what we can do on a daily basis as a business. Again, looking at it from a consumer standpoint, if you ordered something that you're really looking forward to from that, whether it's Amazon's catalog or some other third-party vendor, and it was supposed to arrive on Tuesday, and now it's Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and now Monday the following week you call up and you say, hey, where's my product? They say, we just had a lot of call-offs last week.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll keep that order active and receive that product, but how likely are you to go back there,
Correct.
right?
That bridge
And
is
at the end
burned.
of the day, we're all here to help the company succeed. We're all here to service our customers, but we're also all here to be gainfully employed, right? And that vendor that we purchase from, if we're not getting that product in time, their employees aren't going to be employed very long.
Right.
We have to look at that the same way as ourselves.
Right, and it's not just our customers that are impacted, it's our peers, right? It can be our coworkers, our crews. So when we say be committed, we're talking about being here for your scheduled days. That's where it starts. But then also be there with the right mindset, right? I'll quote Henry Ford, my favorite, right? Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. So if you believe you can get through your day, you're going to. If you believe it's going to be a bad day, it's probably going to. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah, a lot of good quotes from that man, but that's probably the best one. I like that. So yeah, I mean, we lose our ability to plan ahead and communicate what needs to be done in a timely manner anytime that we're short-staffed. Doesn't matter what department, division, etc.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, kind of repeating, you know, because, you know, John kind of hit on a lot of the points that I made some notes for myself, and right, really, I mean, good attendance shows respect for your coworkers, your schedule, and work itself, right? It keeps operations running smooth, prevents delays, reduces stress to others who have to pick up your slack. So it's kind of funny that you know, as you're kind of talking it through, it was the same key points that I had written down, right? It goes back to self-discipline, goes back to respect for each other.
I think that stress that you mentioned is a great point, because you don't recognize, or we don't recognize, how much stress we can put on our peers when we're not here and they have to pick up that slack for us.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of jumping back to another statement that Jason had shared with us to share that I didn't get to, and it goes right on this theme. Honestly, showing up to work is a form of kindness. It's important that we're all honest and kind with each other as coworkers, and we have to remember that we're all human beings, right? So it doesn't matter what our level or status is. The thing that we do for this organization at any point in time is just as important as anything that anyone else does.
And we've talked about this in past episodes too, but your attendance, it doesn't, like you've said, it affects your peers, but it also has a trickle down or trickle up effect where, okay, you called in, now we didn't make that order on time, so now customer service has to talk to the customer and relay the bad news of, hey, your order is delayed because of this, and now we have to try to rework it in the schedule on another day, delaying other orders, and it just really keeps going.
And as that schedule builds up, and then the person that felt like they got burned by somebody that called off, they go, well, I'm going to get that person back. And then it really is. It's a vicious circle that we just want to nip in the bud here early 2026.
Yeah, and it really hurts whoever's is calling in, right? Because when I cannot tell you how many times I get asked, hey, how do I move up, right? How do I make more money, right? Well, first of all, you got to be here. Right? I mean, it starts with you just showing up to work and to get paid, right? And how do you move up? Well, we're looking for reliable employees, right? You want to take a higher position that depends on you being here every day. Well, guess what? The very first thing that I look at it, how's your attendance, right? I cannot have shitty operators calling in because it doesn't just affect them, it affects other employees.
I know I say too many sports analogies while I'm sitting here, but every time that a sheeter operator calls off at any one of our organizations, if you're a sports fan, that's the equivalent of your quarterback just said, yeah, I'm not coming to today's game.
Yep.
We shouldn't pack it in. I don't want to say that. We're going to do our best, but sometimes it feels like you may as well, and we don't want anybody to have that feeling.
Right.
So kind of bringing it back full circle, talked about how we're having this conversation now because it's February, it's early enough in the year to get out in front of things, right? So we've reiterated the importance of speaking up early, reporting things that you see. That doesn't, again, we talked about quality in that respect, but I want to bring it back to the safety aspect that Marcus had talked about too. We have our cardinal rules in place for a reason. And one of those rules that is on there is that, when we see an issue that we report that. It's not only in respect of a machine malfunction or a quality defect, but did I almost get hurt? Did a machine almost get damaged? If we don't report that, if we don't discuss what the root cause of that near miss was, all we're doing is hitting the stopwatch for when it's going to occur again, and the next time we might not escape it so clean.
Right. So Maddie and I are actually a part of the Appleton Safety Committee, and one of the things we just rolled out yesterday was a new near-miss document for our employees to fill out, and we're kind of beta testing it with the safety committee members. If you don't know what your data or what your statistics are, it's hard to attack and prevent. So the critical data is your near-miss data. It all builds from near-miss.
Yeah, and if you're somebody who's in a leadership role and these things are brought to your attention, it's you need to use your best judgment. Not everything needs to be followed up on right away, but everything needs to be followed up on. Yeah. Even if you don't have the answer immediately, right. We have to get back to not just our direct reports, but just each other in a timely manner. Make sure that we all know that the things that we're bringing to concern are being addressed.
Yes.
Right?
Yesterday in the safety committee, we launched a form, the near-miss form, and we were able to test it out. Yesterday we did a tour as the safety committee over in Plant 2, and I noticed a spot where there was some missing concrete in a roll staging area, and it just had maybe like 1.5 to 2 inch lip to it. I didn't see anyone get hurt. I didn't witness anything, but I filled out that form because one of the options on there is a hazard observed, and that could potentially cause an injury. It could potentially cause equipment defects or damage, equipment damage, there we go. If it was a forklift tire getting stuck there. But that form is really super easy to fill out took less than 2 minutes to complete. Turned it into Jason, and he put in a work order, and it's going to be fixed by Friday. So
Perfect.
worked really
Yes.
well.
Yeah, and then really, one thing I just wanted to kind of add is, really near misses are just early signs that help prevent accidents or quality issues. There's been a little bit of my frustration is that, there's been many times where somebody, comes back and says, hey, you know what, that almost happened to me, right? And after something already happened to somebody. So, really if you're ducking underneath the machine, you almost hit your head, and all those things we should be putting out there, putting some near misses, because we want to prevent somebody else from getting hurt, right? That was just kind of lucky that we didn't get hurt. It really kind of goes back to just caring for each other, make sure people are not getting hurt. So
We talked about making sure that near misses should never be punitive. You are thanked for bringing these items up because you're potentially saving someone else an injury or damage of some sort to equipment or something like that.
But for the sake of clarification, and I don't say this is a threat, I just want everybody to know, to not report a near miss can get you in trouble.
Right.
yeah.
Right? That's the important thing we need to know about it. And I will say, you call me naive, I think we've got a great group of people that work at Procon. And so with that said, I really don't think that we have employees that see something that should be reported and they just say, I don't care, or I'm not going to report that. It's a unfortunate human issue that we just go, that's not that big a deal.
Right.
Or I'm clumsy. It would just happen to me. I just tripped over my
Sure.
own feet, or
Or it's just not been the norm to report those types of things, and we have to shift that, right?
Right. No question is a dumb question. No statement is a dumb statement. I'm kind of starting this off talking about the safety end of things, right? But we have a quote here from Dave where he talks about that he praises employees that ask questions. How can we expect them to learn and be accurate in their required quality checks or job in general if they aren't sure what they should be doing and or looking for? So, they need to understand that they'll be acknowledged for their inquiry, not chastised or made to feel dumb or less than. It's important that we give positive feedback and point out when positive things happen and not just the negative. It's really easy to fall into that. So, it's great to have an employee come up. This is Dave stating this to Dave when he's checking something coming off the machine and ask, what are you looking for? Right? I mean, that's a great thing to ask anybody who's in a skilled role. It's going to help you to learn, possibly excel in your own job later on down the road.
It all comes down to self-discipline, right? Doing the right thing here at work or at home, right?
Yep.
Just doing the right thing.
Yep. And along the lines of self-discipline, I'm sorry, I'm stealing it here, but
All right.
I jotted down 3 notes along the lines of self-discipline, and it was be committed, be consistent, and be disciplined, right? So be committed, be here on time for your scheduled shifts. Be consistent, take the same approach each day, each shift, and be disciplined. Do the things the right way each day, even when nobody's watching.
Took those words right out of my mouth.
Sorry, Bob.
And honestly, I think that's about as good a place as any for us to end today's episode. So,
Well, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. John, Marcus, thanks both of you for joining us. Remember, everybody, operational discipline isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about doing the small things right. Every shift, every setup, every day. That's how we protect our margins, our customers, our jobs, and each other as individuals. So as we move through February, let's use this as a reset. Refocus on the fundamentals, lean on the systems in place, and don't underestimate the impact of doing the basics really well. So until next time,
Stay safe,
stay curious, and keep making Procon great.